Today we're going to be talking a bit about the EFF. I know it's really close to elections. This is a really late video, but let's dive into it. It's a very long video. There's so much to cover, and this is essentially all of the things that we're going to be covering. Okay, so we're going to start off with the focus that EFF has during these elections, and I'm just going to write them down so that you have the main points here. First, we have land, jobs, and load shedding now. So that is the essential motto for the elections coming up and for the time in office, which might or might not happen, which is that they want to tackle these three issues. Now, alongside these three issues, they have seven focuses that they are working on, which is expropriation, nationalization, industrial development, minimum wage, African economic development, corrupt-free government, and that's it. We then see that the achievements that they've had in the years prior to this have been listed, and these are the main ones that they've spoken about, which is the health bill, which was when they had implemented the 24/7 clinics. The Israeli embassy had been shut down in South Africa. They curbed alcohol advertisements, which is really something that as Muslims we really focus on. And free education, student debt cancellation, and Ekurhuleni municipality, as well as all of the achievements that they had. Next, we have the problems that South Africans face, which is 40% unemployment and 11 million people being unemployed. The next being land ownership, and land ownership is something that is really important, and that's why we've been tackling it under expropriation. And one of the important aspects of land ownership is that 70% of the land, over 70% of the land in South Africa is owned by the white minority. So land ownership is a massive part of the expropriation issue that they're discussing. And then uncompensated labor, which is where we go into minimum wage, and they proposed minimum wage of 6,500 and different minimum wages across different sectors. And then they have a goals for a 2026 or 5-year plan. I really love this. I am going to discuss this more, but they basically have what is similar to what the USSR had in terms of a 5-year plan, hopefully executed a bit better than that. And then they go into a whole lot of discussions. Now they go into this long list of different issues that they want to speak about, and now I'm going to speak about them, starting with land. So the first thing that they mention under land, obviously this is a 255-page document. There's a lot of information in here, and I'm trying to condense it into a 10-minute video. So first they speak about land, with land redistribution as opposed to land restitution, which means that there's more focus on land going back to the people who originally owned it, as well as to the rest of South Africa, as opposed to it being in the hands of a minority. Then release state and abandoned land for housing. So we have a housing shortage in South Africa. Many people are living in informal settlements and in places that are unsuitable for human residency. So we want to start using state and abandoned land in order to provide homeless people with land. And the next thing is fast-track land redistribution. They have a 5-year plan for this to make sure that this isn't just a long-term vision that people have without actually executing it. Then we have land audits, which is to state that this land redistribution will not be happening through vigilante redistribution or people just coming in invading land. No, this will be done through a proper court process. There'll be tax rebates for with regards to land, and there will be a people's land court in order to facilitate a legal and proper way of redistributing this land. Then we move on to job, and this is one of the pages on the jobs dissection. And first they focus on domestic production in terms of having most of the produce that is being sold in South Africa being produced in South Africa, as well as items, and they list quite a few different items as well as the way that they will be doing it. Then they discuss housing and roads and how this will create 4 million jobs, state-owned security companies, food processing being local by law, cleaning, horticulture and landscaping, special economic zones, minimum wages, 3-shift systems, and you can see the first point being the 3-shift system over here, and then the 5,000 Rand stipend per degree holding citizen, and a 60% local products in every store, which will be something that will be facilitated through incorporating all the different sectors of the economy. Okay, then I'm just going to discuss the rest really quickly. I'm not giving my opinions on this, and I will give my opinion at a later time in a proper follow-up video. So then we have that we will terminate contracts with independent power producers under the electricity section. Electricity supply to all African countries, beginning with neighboring countries. And this is something that, as much as it might seem negative because it is the opening the borders policy, is actually really effective because we could use with a lot of supply from Mozambique, as well as the fact that we do have water and electricity going in and out of South Africa to our neighboring African countries. Then they make mention of the Russian Federation and China as well as their policies, and this is something I find both concerning and it's something that can go either or, because we know that both those countries have had their share of issues, as well as my disdain for some of the human rights violations, but I won't go into that. And then the nuclear power plants, diversifying power sources so that we're not solely relying on ESCOM and coal-generated power. Then we go into education. They have diverse education so that it's not Eurocentric, something I absolutely support, as we tend to have a very westernized view of education as well as history. Criminalize parents who don't send kids to school. I think this is something that Muslim parents would be quite taken, by. It might be something that might be a bit of a problem. Abolish the IEB's curriculum. That's something that I can stand by in terms of the IEB curriculum being, firstly, it's not that great, and secondly, the fact that we need to have a national curriculum that people are studying as well as qualifying by, because it gives certain people different advantages to other people, and it works both ways. And then transport so that education is more accessible, communication technology, remedial support, #return to school for people that have dropped out of school because of pregnancies, because of having to run child-led households and so on. Countrywide literacy campaign, something that I really hope to be a part of. Compulsory tertiary education, centralized higher education application, so that you only have to apply to one place instead of applying to every single university. And then satellite campuses, and a once-off grant of 1 million to all Black PhD students. I would like to say that when we speak about Black people in terms of the EFF, they are speaking about all people that are not white. So when we speak of African, we speak of people that are and that are Bantu. And when we speak, that's what I think of right now, but like indigenous to South Africa. And when we speak of Black, Black rights generally refers to the rights of all South Africans of color. Then they move on to research. I'm not going to go into this, but basically HIV/AIDS research and GBV, illegal immigrants to be registered. The EFF has a very pro-immigrant policy, as well as opening the borders. The Cape Flats, the research on how improvements can be made there, and then stock theft. Then they have the National Defense Force. They want to collude with China and Russia. Again, something that I'm a bit skeptical about. And then African military efforts to essentially connect the different African armies, to reclaim denial information sold to private companies, and compulsory military training. Then we have healthcare, which is to have a healthcare database, have specialist hospitals in all areas, something that would be amazing because this would tackle different issues that we have in different areas. Focus on African medicine integration and shifting from top-down healthcare to socialism. And so the EFF is a very socialist party, and this will show in a lot of aspects that they discuss in the manifesto. Then they have state-owned medical technology, and then when we move on to social justice, we have introducing foster care, something I would absolutely love to be a part of again. Illegal to lend money to indigent people, because this would just essentially raise interest costs and make it difficult for them to repay it. Willingly displaced people can be reunited with their families. Increase social grants, subsidized transport fares, free sanitary products, VAT-free products, and compulsory tipping. Then we move on to gender and women. 50% women in all spaces in order to allow for more diverse workforce. Education on the patriarchy and GBV at schools. Childcare at work, which would be amazing for lots of mothers. Home visits during pregnancy, and midwives and doulas focus on maternal health. I love the fact that they focus on doulas and the fact that they focus on having home births also. Quicker assessment and arrest for GBV, formally recognizing the housewife as formal labor. I absolutely love that one. I don't know if we'll be getting like a housewife grant or something like that, but that would be amazing. No children under the age of 18 to be married. Again, something that might be a bit challenging for the Muslim community. Then they do focus on LGBTQIA, but I will focus on that in the next video because the 10-minute timer is up.